The House by the River. Episode 4. Sebastian woke to the sound of knocking, slow, deliberate, coming from inside the walls. 3 knocks, then a pause. 3 knocks again, another pause, like someone trapped and desperate, using the last of their strength to signal for help. Let's catch up on what happened in the last episode at 3 a.m. The De Silvas performed a ritual with Healer Blandina to trap the entity back in the confessional. They succeeded, but learned the house is a 200-year-old Portuguese prison. Something beneath them just woke up, and now it wants out. The knocking had started at 2 in the morning. Sebastian found the children huddled in Aaron and Joel's room, wide awake. Maria sat with them, rosary beads wrapped tight around her hands. "It's coming from below the house," Aaron whispered. Sebastian had thought the same. The sound resonated up through the floorboards. Walking the ground floor, he finally noticed it. In the corner of the living room, partially hidden by a heavy cabinet, there was a door. Small, barely 4 feet high, painted the same faded yellow as the walls. He'd walked past it dozens of times without seeing it. Someone had nailed a wooden cross to it. The cross was upside down. Father Joachim stared at the door for a full minute without speaking. "Father Miguel sealed this," he finally said. In 1824, 3 days after he performed the binding, he wrote in his diary that he'd found a passage beneath the chapel, stairs going down into the foundation. He went down once. When he came back up, he sealed this door with blessed nails and prayers and said, "No one should ever open it again." But the seal weakens over time. The Fernandez family, they must have found the door unsealed, or maybe they broke it open themselves. "What did he see down there?" Maria asked. Father Joachim shook his head. He never wrote it down, just said that what the Portuguese had buried beneath this house needed to stay buried, that it was the reason the chapel was built, the reason for all the confessions, all the rituals. They were feeding it, yes, but they were also keeping it contained. Every prayer, every confession, they weren't just power, they were chains. Sebastian and the priest stood before the door. Father Joachim gripped the cross, whispered a prayer, and pulled. The nails came free with a sound like a sigh. The temperature dropped 10 more degrees. Frost formed on the doorknob. Sebastian turned the knob. The door opened to darkness and stone stairs descending. They clicked on their flashlights and started down. The walls were slick with moisture, the air thick and hard to breathe, smelling of earth and rot. 20 steps, then 30. The house above shouldn't have this much depth. At step 42, they reached bottom. The chamber was maybe 15 feet across with a low ceiling. The walls were covered floor to ceiling in scratched writing. Portuguese, Latin prayers, diagrams, some organized, most chaotic and overlapping, and everywhere, repeated, "I see it, it sees me. God help me, it sees me." "Father Miguel," Father Joachim whispered. "He kept coming down here." In the center was a well, a shaft bordered by stones with an iron grate covering the top. Someone had poured resin over it, creating a seal. The seal was cracking. They approached. The smell was overwhelming, emanating from below. Sebastian pointed his light through the grate gaps, trying to see depth. The light didn't reach bottom, just darkness going down. But things were moving in that darkness. Shapes that didn't make sense, responding to the light by moving toward it. "Don't look directly at it," Father Joachim said, pulling Sebastian back. Father Miguel wrote that looking too long makes it stronger, gives it purchase on your mind. But Sebastian had seen eyes, multiple sets at different heights, reflecting his light with a greenish glow, all looking up, waiting. Father Joachim was examining the walls, reading the scratched Portuguese with increasing horror. "This isn't just a prison," he said. "It's a feeding chamber. The Portuguese, They brought something back from their colonies, something they found in an African port city in 1822. Father Miguel writes about it here. They tried to kill it, tried to exorcise it. Nothing worked. So they built this house on top of it, built the chapel directly above. Every confession spoken in that chapel for 200 years has been draining down here, feeding through this grate, keeping the thing docile, keeping it satisfied. "What is it?" Sebastian asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Father Joachim kept reading, his flashlight beam moving across the frantic scratching. He doesn't name it. He says naming it gives it power, but he describes what it does. It's a collector. It consumes guilt, sin, shame, emotional waste. The Portuguese used it to absolve themselves. They'd commit atrocities in the colonies, come back here, confess their sins to a priest who channeled that guilt down into this well, and the thing below would eat it. Made them feel clean again, made them feel like they could keep doing what they were doing without consequence. Sebastian felt sick. So, this entire house was built as a spiritual sewage system, essentially. But Father Miguel figured out something the Portuguese either didn't know or didn't care about. The thing in the well wasn't just eating guilt, it was storing it, growing stronger with every confession, and eventually it would have enough stored energy to break free. So, Father Miguel sealed the confessional, stopped the flow, tried to starve it. How long ago? Father Joachim's light found a date scratched into the stone, 1854, 30 years after he discovered it. He lived alone in this house for 3 more decades, guarding this door, making sure no one went down, making sure the seal held. And when he died in 1881, the church sent someone else, then someone else. Always a priest living here, always watching, until 1996. What happened in 1996? That's when Anna died, when the thing in the confessional got loose and contaminated everything upstairs. The church pulled out, stopped sending guardians, decided it was too dangerous. They sold the house to civilian families and washed their hands of it. Breathing came from the well, slow, deep, and with each exhale, the candles in Father Joachim's closed bag flickered. "We need to leave. Now!" They ran. Behind them, laughter, wet and gurgling. The stairs seemed longer, and the walls they pressed closer. Sebastian's light caught shadows that weren't shadows. Near the bottom step, he saw something that made his stomach drop. A woman's slipper, small and pink, covered in dust. A child's drawing book, pages all scattered. The Fernandez family had been down here. They burst through the door into the living room. Father Joachim slammed it shut. They shoved the cabinet against it, and the priest drew chalk lines across everything, symbols at every corner. Maria and the children ran from upstairs. "What did you see?" Sebastian couldn't find words. Father Joachim sat heavily, hands shaking. "We need to evacuate. Tonight." The knocking started again, frantic pounding, dozens of fists against the door. The cabinet shook, the chalk lines smoked. "It knows we saw it," Father Joachim said. "We have maybe an hour before it breaks through." Aaron's voice was quiet. "Dad, the windows." Every window was covered with condensation, and in it, someone had drawn words. The same words on every window: confess, confess, confess. The words began to move, crawling across the glass like living things. Father Joachim pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the bishop. There's a protocol. We burn the house with everything in it. Consecrate the ground. What about the well? We seal it in fire. It's the only thing these collectors can't metabolize." The cabinet slid across the floor. Maria grabbed the children, pulled them toward the front door. Sebastian tried the handle. Locked. It wouldn't budge. "The house won't let us out until we confess," Joel said quietly. Sebastian understood. The thing below didn't want to escape. It wanted them to come down willingly and confess everything. That's how it fed. Father Joachim was on the phone with the bishop. His face went pale. He hung up. The bishop says there's no protocol. This house is church property. They will not authorize its destruction. He says we need to reseal it, not burn it. The cabinet tipped over. The door bulged, wood cracking. Father Joachim stood. Then we do it without permission. We burn it ourselves. The chapel has oil, candles, old wood. We start there, let it spread. And if the thing survives, at least we tried. The basement door burst open. A smell hit them first, overwhelming, like something dead and rotting, mixed with wet earth. Then came the cold air, pouring out like the basement was exhaling. The temperature dropped so fast their breath turned to fog. The lights began to flicker. Then all the electricity cut out. There was complete darkness except for their phone lights. In the darkness they heard it, footsteps coming up from below, slow, heavy footsteps on stone stairs. Then another set, then more. Dozens of footsteps, overlapping, echoing, like an invisible crowd was climbing out of that basement. The cabinet in front of the door began to slide across the floor, pushed by nothing they could see. Just steady, relentless pressure from the other side. The chapel, now. They ran through the darkness, the heavy footsteps following behind them, getting closer. They reached the kitchen, the chapel door. Father Joachim unlocked it with shaking hands, and they piled inside, slamming it shut. Father Joachim grabbed the candles, smashed them, and let the wax scatter. He pulled out matches and said, "When I light this, we have maybe 5 minutes. There's a window, small, but the children can fit through. Maria first, then children, then Sebastian, then me." Someone asked, "And if that window is sealed?" Father Joachim looked at the bleeding crucifix and replied, "Then we pray it isn't." He struck the match. The flame caught on oil, on wood, on 200 years of accumulated guilt. The fire spread unnaturally fast, hungry. The window wasn't sealed. Maria pushed it open, barely wide enough. She helped Eliza through, then Joel, then Aaron. Sebastian went next, with smoke thick and the heat just, intense. Father Joachim was last. He stood in the burning chapel, looked at the confessional engulfed in flames, and smiled. "Maybe this absolves me too." He climbed through, and they ran as fire consumed the house from within. They ran down the dirt road, not stopping until they heard sirens. They turned back. The villa was a pillar of flame, burning so bright it lit the Sal River. The house seemed to scream, wind and wood and something alive and angry. The ground beneath the house began to sink, to collapse inward, like something below was pulling it down, trying to save itself. But fire was purification. As dawn broke over South Goa, the villa by the Sal River collapsed completely, taking the chapel, the confessional, and the well into ash and ruin. Father Joachim fell to his knees and wept. But Sebastian noticed something. In the forest across the river, barely visible in dawn light, there was movement. Other houses, old Portuguese villas hidden in the trees, and from one, smoke rising from a chimney, fresh smoke, like someone had just lit a fire on a November morning when no fire was needed. Sebastian wondered how many wells the Portuguese had dug in Goa, how many houses they'd built on top of them, how many collectors they'd fed for 200 years with colonial guilt. "Is it over?" Maria asked, holding their children. Sebastian looked at those other houses, at the smoke, at the Sal River connecting them all. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I really don't know." The villa is destroyed, but was the thing in the well killed or just released? And why are there other Portuguese houses in the forest, all built near the river, all exactly the same age? Find out in the next episode at 3 a.m.